What's up, guys? So I've gotten a few requests over the past year or so to demonstrate how to crack a CGC slab, and I'm actually doing that today. So I'm just going to do a little quick demonstration and walk you through my process of cracking a slab. This definitely is not any official process, but it's what has worked for me. Also, just a heads up, I'm doing this video in my kitchen, not my normal home office space. So going to be some noise in the background. Might hear some kids yelling, and you know what? It is what it is. So anyway, here we go. I've got a slab here. This is going to be one that I cracked today. We've got a Dr. J cover from 1975 Sport Magazine. I got a 7.5 on it. I wasn't happy with that. Hoping for an 8 or an 8.5. And here's the tools that I use. You're gonna need a little flathead screwdriver. Okay. Paint can opener. This is probably the most clutch device for this little job we're gonna do. Gonna need some good scissors, and you might need a little hammer or something to tap your screwdriver into. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take this slab. This is a new slab, by the way. It's got the recess in the back. It's one of the more sturdy slabs. The older slabs, this exact same process will work, except it'll be even easier because the older slabs you can actually almost pull apart yourself. The newer slabs are just a little bit harder to get into. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to turn it on its side, and you can see that there's kind of a little spot here in the middle where it's almost like a lip that the slab's coming together. That's where I'm going to try and start. I'm just going to stick my flathead screwdriver right there and give it a couple knocks here with the hammer. Now, you might be wondering what my track record is with these, and the answer to that is that I cracked a couple test slabs, and then I've cracked and resubmitted 2 of my own slabs. So I had a Bart Simpson Time magazine that was an 8.5. I cracked it, resubmitted it, and got a 9.2. And then I had a Mickey Mantle first cover, which started off as a 6.5, and I sent it in, got it back as an 8.0. All right, so I got my flathead here in between the slab, and oh, just fell out. It's okay. I got enough of a crack that I need. So now I'm going to take my paint can opener and I'm going to stick it right in that little crack. Perfect. So you can see my paint can opener is in here. I'm actually going to tilt this down a little bit now. And from here, you're just going to use the paint can opener exactly like you would on a paint can. Just going to kind of pry and then slide it down. You can see that this whole side has already come apart. I'm going to slide it down the other way. All right, we're gonna slide it back down the other side. Just kind of pry it. Let's see here. There we go. I got that side popped. Let's flip this around. Slide it down to the bottom. Just kind of slowly sliding around the edge of the magazine with this paint can opener, and trying to get a better angle so you can see, just kind of prying it open. There we go. All right, I've got 3 sides, and there we go. Lifting that slab cover right off. So what you may not realize here, I can pull this out. I'm going to save this so that I can keep track. Of course, ideally, after you resubmit one and get it back regraded, you would turn these back into CGC so that they could take them off the census. But I'll be honest, I've reached out to CGC about that multiple times and they never respond to me. So I don't even know if they want to mess with that. But still, I think it's helpful to keep these. So anyway, what you may not realize is once you get into the slab, let's back up a little bit. This upside down. The magazines are kind of encased in another little thing. This is almost like lamination. It's kind of like a little laminated case. Of course, with a recess there that the entire magazine can fit in. So here, once we get to this part, really the cracking part that I just did is super easy. That's probably the easier part. This next step, in my opinion, is a little more nerve-wracking. So let me get my hammer out of the way. This is where you're going to bring the scissors into play. Now, I've seen people do this with box cutters, and I don't feel comfortable doing that. I have tried it, but it's just the box cutters can easily you cannot control them quite as well. So to me, scissors are the way to go. And so what you're going to do is you're going to start off on one of these edges. See if I can get that glare to go away. Start off on one of these edges of this like laminated type case, and you're going to cut. Now you can see, if you can, I know my lighting's not great, but about halfway in the middle, like between the edge of the magazine and the edge of this case, there's kind of like a seam. And that's like the seam of, whatever, where this case is sealed. So I'm going to have to cut on the inside of this seam, in between the edge of the magazine and this seam. It's not a lot of space to work with. I mean, we're probably talking a half of an inch, maybe a third of an inch. And so I'm just going to slowly cut right inside of that seam along the side of the magazine, and making sure not to actually cut my magazine. Now, the first few cuts are usually pretty easy, but then once you start going along, this extra piece kind of gets in your way. So what I'm going to actually do, I'm going to cut that off and then kind of pick back up. And that makes my next cut a little bit easier. It's kind of difficult when you're trying to cut all along the edge with that side hanging in the way. So after each cut, I just kind of trim that excess plastic off, and then I kind of got a fresh new slot to work with for my next cut. But once again, being very careful not to cut up against the edge of the magazine. But I got to cut it out of this seal so that I can get it free. And I can see down here on the bottom on the parts I've already cut that I am able to pull this apart. So my cuts have done what I need them to do so far. Cut off that extra. I'm basically going to just do this around the whole perimeter of the magazine. Okay, there's one full side. And once again, I can kind of pry this apart. So now I've got one whole side of this magazine exposed. But technically you could pull it out that way, but it's pretty tight squeeze. I wouldn't recommend it because you could definitely damage the magazine trying to pull it out of that small little gap. So we're going to go ahead and cut another side here. This top side, much easier to cut than the side. Cut off that excess. Okay, now I've got the top part cut, and look at this. I've got two full sides free from this magazine. I could definitely pull it out now, but I'm gonna go ahead and cut one more side off. I'm gonna cut the bottom, and once I get that bottom cut, we should be in pretty good shape to pull this guy out. I'm gonna go about halfway, cut off my slack here, and finish with the rest of the cut on this side. Of course, you don't really want to do this unless you feel confident that you can improve the grade. Make sure you look at the grader's notes, or maybe you just feel like it was a severely undergraded issue and you want to try it again. And here we go. Look at that. I can pretty much lift this whole flap up. I've got 3 of the 4 sides cut, and now I can pull my magazine right out. And I've got my backer board here. Make sure I don't have any shards of plastic on there. We're good. And I can rest my magazine on the board. And now Dr. J is ready to be operated on.